So a very small amount of people enjoyed Redfall, and I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say that it was one of the worst game releases of 2023. But despite all of the bad reception and people not enjoying the game, we have news from one of the executives of Bethesda saying that Redfall will not be abandoned and that it will get to be a good game. But not only that, the executive Pete Hines has compared the game's launch to that of Fallout 76, which is a really, really good game now, but it had an awful launch. So even after several delays, the first major Xbox exclusive from Bethesda came out back in May, and it had a bunch of technical issues. The reviews were really, really bad because it felt like an empty game. Like the open world felt really empty. There was nothing to it. It felt as though something you would play if you was given hands-on with an alpha. It didn't feel like an actual game release. Well, that's like my personal opinion based on what I experienced at Redfall. And so far, there's been no plans whatsoever to close down the developer team. In fact, what they are saying is they are always in the process of learning. They don't like failing to meet the players' expectations. At the same time, they are the same company that's had launches that didn't go the way they wanted, and they didn't quit or abandon stuff, or they don't quit and abandon stuff just because it didn't start right. Pete Hines went on to state that Bethesda will continue to work on Redfall to ensure it becomes a good game. Also quoting that the Elder Scrolls Online's PC launch wasn't flawless, but they stuck with it. And now it is like this insanely popular multi-platform. And it's the same with Fallout 76. But not only that, Redfall is no different for them. They didn't release the game, they didn't have the start to the game they wanted, but they have stated they're going to keep working on it. They're going to do 60 FPS, which I mean, it's been out for coming up 4 months or around 4 months, and it still doesn't have that 60 FPS patch. But it's also quoted here that they know as a first-party studio that Game Pass lives forever. There will be people 10 years from now who are going to join Game Pass, and Redfall will be there. So Redfall is, like, pretty much, at least for the foreseeable future, going to be a permanent part of Xbox Game Pass, and they have said that they will continue working on the game. So even though it had a rough launch, a lot of games have a rough launch. You've got Fallout 76, you've got Cyberpunk. There are lots and lots of games that have really, really bad launch receptions, but they do, like, a lot of them do pick up over time. And it's frustrating for the player. I totally understand it. You don't want to be paying for, like, pay now, they fix later. That sort of mentality to the gaming industry or whatever. It happens quite often. You get games released, they're in a really poor state, and eventually, after a year or two, they become fun to play. So while it is frustrating, this is like basically confirmation that Redfall will eventually, or should eventually, be a good game to play. Whether that's too late or not, that's for everyone to decide on their own. That's a personal opinion. I personally think it's definitely too late for anything good to come from Redfall. Because if it takes them a year and they start putting out major updates and fixing a load of the issues and adding a lot more to the game world and stuff, I don't have any interest to go back to games that were released a year ago. I like playing games when they launch, when I pay money for them, and I want to play a decent experience then. Exactly what's happened with Starfield. Starfield, for me personally, from I think I'm maybe 5 or 6 hours in now, has been nothing but incredible. I've absolutely loved my time with it. I've experienced no issues. I've done a lot of exploring, looting, I've got legendary stuff on my character. It's been an absolute blast. And obviously it's completely different developers, but it's all being published by Bethesda. So even though Redfall had a really, really bad launch, they are going to stick with it. And if you have any interest or had any interest in the game, at some point in the future, they do plan to make it a really, really good game, similar to what's happened with Fallout 76. And even though it's not a Bethesda game, what's happened with Cyberpunk 2077. So there's absolutely no time frame on when the updates are going to come out, when 60 FPS is going to be released, or anything like that. But if you do enjoy Redfall and you're hoping that it's got a good future ahead of it, this is the confirmation that you would have needed. Bethesda and Arcane are not giving up on the game, which is actually really, really good to hear, even though I don't really have any interest in it. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.